Today I fucked up by leaving a 3-star review for our engagement photographer. So this all still doesn't feel real. I had a full panic attack over it and am still freaked out. We hired a photographer for our engagement and wedding photos, and after we got our engagement photos realized he wasn't a good fit. We didn't like the photos, he was cagey and uncomfortable and frequently missed meetings. He said he wouldn't give us any refund for the wedding portion of the deposit, close to $3,000, despite it being over a year away and us offering to help transfer our date to a new couple. He was honestly pretty aggressive with me specifically, despite both me and my fiancé talking to him. We agreed that we could move forward with him and look at possible solutions. A month later he emailed saying he had found another couple for our date and wanted to know if we wanted to cancel. We asked if he'd refund us and he still said no, despite the new client. Finally he agreed to give back a few hundred. We left some reviews about our mixed experience, left 3/5 stars, were exceedingly kind about the parts that he did well, nice lighting, but were honest about a lack of communication and him asking to hire a new client without refunding us. A few minutes later I get harassing emails and texts demanding I take down the reviews, claiming I'm ruining his family, etc. We told him the reviews were honest and if he felt we'd been unfair we would edit the reviews. No response. 30 minutes later we are in a random town getting lunch. 2 hours from where we leave, 3 states from where he is. I hear him call my name. He's somehow in this random town and runs down me and my fiancé. He starts threatening us saying we had no right to leave the contract. Not true. He left and also we can leave up to $120 from the wedding. He threatens to sue us and starts yelling in the middle of a crowded plaza. I'm honestly very afraid at this point and just keep trying to escape, walk away. He gets in his car and follows us, saying we will hear from his lawyers. I felt like I was living in a fever dream. He has no legal grounds, but that was still wild. I always felt he had bad vibes. If you get bad vibes from a wedding vendor, run away. Too long did not read. After a bad engagement photo experience I left a 3/5 review for my photographer. He somehow found me in a small town and threatened to sue. Edit. For everyone concerned about potential legal action, thank you so much for your concern. We are warning other couples in our area about what happened. We are speaking to attorneys versed in this about what potential steps to take. Filing restraining orders, TROs, is a very involved process, so while I really appreciate all of the advice about taking immediate legal action, it's a bit more complicated than that. Based on all the facts and attorneys we've talked to, we would very likely not have a case. If anything more happens that could change. I have omitted some details for the sake of confidentiality, but I want to be clear that he did not stalk us. He could not have flown from where he lives, 1K plus miles away, to where we were after the review. We were in a very popular wedding destination and he was shooting another wedding. Although it's still weird he found us at a plaza that's not super close to wedding venues, it's not completely impossible. It's a Saturday. It's wedding season. If he had found us in the town we live in or anywhere near where we work, where we did the engagement shoot, we would be far more concerned about stalking. I'll update with our final decisions later. Update. We filed a police report and are moving forward with advice from police and an attorney. We are reaching out to all our coordinators to make sure they are aware of what happened and that we are protected against him going after us or our wedding. I can't share much more information, but we are safe and ensuring couples and vendors in our area are aware of what happened. Thanks for all the advice. Update 2. I've really been trying to read through all the comments here. To those saying file a criminal complaint, in my state individuals cannot file criminal charges, only DOS can. I have spoken to police and filed a police report, but what occurred was not criminal. There was no stalking. If he finds us again, I have a paper trail to prove what happened. Similarly, there is not enough of a pattern of incidents or level of harassment for me to obtain a restraining order. I appreciate that people are pissed at this man and scared for me, but I don't appreciate everyone making harsh judgments about me and my fiancé for putting our safety first and not immediately updating the review and further provoking him. We had to make sure we were safe and protected first. We are trusting the police and other attorneys we spoke with on this front. Regarding the contract, it was a non-refundable deposit. We could have tried to fight for the money back once he started trying to leave for a new couple, but we had no legal grounds before that. Although he said he wanted to work with a new couple, he never explicitly asked to be removed from contract, and based on all the facts and everything the two of us could find, we didn't have something completely solid. We are busy and it just wasn't worth the stress. We'd already been fighting this guy for months. What he did was crazy, but I'm not going to dox him. People who might book him will know about this though. Update the review with these details and a 1/5 rating. Update your review with this info. You don't want someone else to deal with this. Honestly, you should update your review. Not out of spite but to caution others. Your story is otherworldly. Call the police if he continues to harass you. The insane part is, he refused to refund you your money after he decided he wanted to take another customer during your agreed-on date. Wild, just wild how some people feel entitled to your money before they even render services. I think you made the correct decision with calling off the wedding photo aspect with missed meetings and crappy engagement photos. But definitely file a restraining order and police report. Perhaps leave the rating the same but add he literally stalked you and threatened you. Get a restraining order. Then update your review to include the fact that you had to get a restraining order. As a wedding photographer myself, most wedding engagement photographers have contracts that are designed to protect both parties from behavior like this. I always tell my clients, I know I'm having you sign a lot of stuff, but this outlines exactly what I can and can't do as much for you as for me. Frankly, reviews are just a reality of the business, and you should always expect that at any time you can get a negative one. For this reason, I always try to make sure that the client and I are a good fit for each other, and give them an opportunity to back out gracefully if our personalities just don't mesh for some reason. Hopefully this gets sorted out for you. Sadly, photographers like him are a bad mark on the whole industry. That's what cops are for. That starts the documentation on this guy. Today I fucked up by possibly breaking my boyfriend's penis and being unable to take him to the hospital. Welp, never thought I'd be posting here but here I am. Throwaway because I absolutely don't need my friends who know my main username to know about this. So this happened about an hour ago. My boyfriend, 20M, and I, 22F, were chilling on the couch. I was scrolling through Reddit when I came across some NSFW. Showed him and we kept scrolling through more together, you know how it goes. We started getting excited and went to the bedroom to have sex. I'll try not to get too graphic here so I'll just say I was on top and leave it at that. Everything was going great until my boyfriend told me to lean back further and I happily obliged. We were going at it pretty vigorously, when all of a sudden my boyfriend slipped out and we both heard, and felt, a big pop and my boyfriend started groaning in pain. We stopped everything, and once my boyfriend was able to collect himself somewhat he started checking his range of movement, down there, while I did some panic googling. We came to the realization that what had happened was, in all likelihood, a penile fracture. The best case scenario for this is no sex for a few days while the injury heals. The worst case is surgery and no sex for a few months. It's too soon to tell which scenario we're going to end up with, but I'm kind of skeptical that a pop like that could cause an injury that will heal completely on its own. Here's the thing. The area we live in is currently in a really bad surge of COVID and the hospitals are on code black, which means they're turning people away who have suffered car accidents and heart attacks, so my boyfriend's broken dick doesn't stand a chance. He's currently on the couch with an ice pack on his junk and cracking jokes about the whole thing. I guess that's a good sign, but I'd absolutely prefer him to be able to see a doctor about this. Too long did not read. Got too vigorous during sex, causing my boyfriend to sustain a possible penile fracture at a time when no hospitals in the area can perform the surgery to fix it due to the beds being filled with COVID patients. At least we can laugh about it, but we can't have sex for a while. Sad face. Edit. Thanks to everyone urging us to seek medical attention ASAP. We are exploring our options right now. Didn't realize how serious this could be as once the moment of pain passed he said it wasn't that bad. Edit 2. We are in the emergency room right now waiting for him to be seen. Thank you again to everyone for knocking some sense into us. I didn't realize how serious this was and I don't know what I'd do if this ended up causing him serious harm and we didn't get the medical attention he needed ASAP. Edit 3. We got a room. Just waiting on the diagnosis now. I've shown him y'all's well wishes and laughed over the funny in the comments. Leave it to Reddit to provide support at an absurd moment like this. Edit 4. And we're in the clear. Boyfriend got discharged after roughly 7 hours, hence why I'm late with the update. We didn't get home until 5 a.m. and with a referral to see a urologist ASAP. In case anyone wonders what a hospital visit for this type of injury entails, it entails a physical examination, urine test, and ultrasound of the affected region. Probably would have entailed a lot more if it had been worse. The doctor says there doesn't seem to be any damage aside from inflammation of the tissue, so we got very lucky. Boyfriend will definitely still be going to that urologist anyway just to be safe. If there's one thing I've learned today, it's that you shouldn't mess around with a dick pop. Thanks again for the strongly worded advice and the well wishes. This has been quite the adventure and I'm glad we didn't just wait and see any longer. Yeah, this isn't a minor thing. There needs to be imaging and a proper look to see if surgery is required. His entire future sex life lives or dies in the next couple of days. Go to the hospital now. Or it might end up with permanent damage. Needs an evaluation by a urologist. Also, what hospital is turning away car accidents or heart attacks? This is a pretty serious issue. Please seek medical attention right away. Call the hospital and see if this is something they would be able to treat, and if they are not, if they can recommend a hospital that would be able to. This is an emergency. Please go to a doctor. I winced when I saw the word pop. That can require surgery to correct. He needs to be checked out ASAP. Fast forward a while and there is a potential for Perrin's disease. It is a calcified lump that restricts the blood flow, causing a curvature and painful erection. It doesn't always happen, but after a pop like that, it's pretty likely. Interestingly, it's very common after an injury like you mentioned, sports-related injuries, and also occasionally without specific injury being known to the affected person. I don't think a urologist is usually treating COVID patients. Call around to hospitals and ask for an urgent urology appointment. OMG fuck sake. Go to a hospital no matter how far you have to go to reach an available one. Drive to the far end of the country if you have to. Today I fucked up by drugging the bartender and ruining a wedding. Yeah, so this fuck up happened the summer before COVID, but I think that statute of limitations are up so I can tell this story. My wife and I went to her colleague's wedding. I'm not a huge drinker and I didn't really know anyone, so my plan was to grab some sort of cold refreshing beverage, find somewhere to post up, and nurse it while I got really stoned and did some people watching. Which leads me to my drugs. On the way to the wedding I stopped at a dispensary and picked up a reusable vape pen thing. I'm a pretty traditional smoker. I go to the place and buy an eighth and smoke it in my ancient bowl over the course of the next month or two. I'd never had a pen before. I was just like, I'm going to a wedding and want something that won't make me sleepy or mentally handicapped, and the young woman at the counter handed me the thing. As my wife was driving us over, I tried it out. I also don't smoke very much at any one time, and have a hard time with anything like joints or bongs etc. When I do smoke these things, they hit way too hard and I cough like crazy and hate myself. So I took a very small hit, noticed it hit really hard and thought, well, that's because you think everything hits too hard. Bada bing bada boom, I'm at the reception standing in line to grab some drinks from the bartender and notice the tip jar. Realizing I don't have any cash, I'm like, dude, do you have Venmo or something? I know, lol, and he's like, don't even worry about it man, it's no big deal. But I'm a service industry vet, so I wanted to find a way to tip him because I know it's gonna be a long night and a lot of people won't tip. So I'm like, alright man, well, if my wife has some cash I'll double back over. But in the meantime, if you party. And I show him the pen. He's like, oh for real? Hell yeah dude. And proceeds to take an enormous puff on this thing. Within seconds he was doubling over and coughing uncontrollably. It was incredibly loud and in under a minute he was down on his hands and knees behind the bar puking in the grass. Still. Kind of no harm no foul. Until he gets up and puts all of his weight onto a tumbler glass that was sitting on the table he used to help himself up. Cutting his hand open. So badly. And then something very interesting happened. Something that had never happened before. I started vomiting at the sight of the blood. So naturally this is pretty disruptive, and the groom, who just so happened to be nearby, comes over to see what's going on and fucking faints the second he sees this guy's hand. Smashing his head on the bar table on the way down, his face taking the tablecloth and everything on the table down with him. Totally unmitigated disaster. Both of them had to go to the hospital and the bride was understandably super upset and screaming at the caterers, so I decided, well, it's been a good life, and began to march over to explain to her what happened when out of her mouth comes a series of very specific slurs directed at the owner of the catering company. I didn't get a single word out of my mouth before she said, fucking sue me, turned on her heel and told her people to just round their shit up and go. Cue major shitstorm. Everyone is fighting with everyone, and almost all of the guests left. I told my wife what happened on the drive home and she said I should call the catering company and apologize, Which I did, and the owner laughed for about 30 seconds on the phone before saying, "Well, whatever, fuck that bitch." So, yeah. Too long did not read. Don't smoke a lot of weed. Got the bartender way too high, causing a chain reaction of vomiting and fainting that led to a racist outburst ending a wedding. Edit: I actually think it was a wine glass. She called the catering owner racist slurs and the catering owner packed up her crew and food and left? Epic move by the caterer. Good on her. B wahahahahaha. Well, whatever, fuck that bitch. Best line. TBH, the only person I really feel sorry for is the husband who unwittingly viewed blood, passed out, and smacked his head. Wife showed her true colors of being a bigot, on her wedding day of all days no less. Bartenders shouldn't be partying hard on the job, for professionality reasons. TBH, this is a great fucking story. This is my favorite Today I Fucked Up I've ever read. Truly one of a kind. Lol. This is a masterpiece of a shitstorm. This is the winning story. Seriously. As a former wedding bartender, I now feel so much better about every disaster wedding I worked. So how long did marriage last? Op is a deity of pure chaos. Uses a vape to, nearly, kill 2 men while ruining a wedding. What a legend. Today I fucked up by trying the one chip challenge. I ate the chip last night. As a spicy connoisseur, I didn't think it would be as bad as it was, so I didn't prepare any relief. I'm the kind of person who loves the pain of spicy food. I eat habaneros like they're pickled pepperoncino peppers from Papa John's. I order extra spice at Thai restaurants. I make chili that can't be eaten by anyone I know. I've binged jalapeno, hot and spicy, and ghost pepper chips. Not an actual skill or anything I'm proud of, I just love spicy food. So, after missing last year's challenge, I noticed Pocky has a new chip this year, with the Carolina Reaper and Scorpion Pepper, and I couldn't pass it up. These sound like cheesy metal bands to me, so I buy one with no fear. Reading the "this chip will destroy you" on the packaging actually makes me laugh. How bad could this possibly be? Well, it was bad. After unwrapping the chip, I noticed there was an extra chip in the package, so I was excited. The chip was $5 plus at the store I got it from, so this felt like a discount. My first mistake. I stared at the chips for a while, and took a bite. The chip was stale and flavorless. No tang and no salt, completely uninspired flavor profile. The heat didn't hit me at all, so, after waiting a few seconds, I scarfed down both chips in a few bites. About 30 seconds passed before I felt anything. Suddenly, my mouth felt like I had been chewing on the glowing embers of a campfire. I walk calmly to the kitchen and pour a glass of water. Once I drink this, my throat starts to flare up like it has third-degree burns. I can't swallow, and I'm worried that if this continues, I won't be able to breathe. I drink more water, which only functions to spread the spice stuck in my teeth down my throat. At this point, my body is reacting like I'm swallowing actual fire. It thinks that my throat is inhaling flames, and all there is the flight or fight response. I want to run into a pool and drown myself, the pain is unbearable. Suddenly, I remember the fruit popsicles in the fridge. I get one out and deep-throat it onto my tonsils to cool off the pain, and it works. As long as the popsicle is on my tonsils, the pain feel manageable. Unfortunately, the popsicle is gone in less than 30 seconds, and I end up eating them all in about 2 minutes. All the popsicles are gone, and I'm still feeling the burn, so I do something I've never done my entire adult life. I pour a glass of milk. I'm lactose intolerant, so this is a worst-case scenario situation, but I can't take it anymore. People in my house drink milk, so that's why I have it in the fridge. So I drink a glass, and it doesn't help. I drink a second glass, and still no relief, so I just start gargling it like Listerine. I grab a loaf of bread, start stuffing my face and spitting out everything in a failed attempt to remove the spice. I don't really drink alcohol either, but I know it helps loosen up the oil and counteract the spice. So I check the fridge and find a single bottle of hard cider, immediately open it, and start gargling. This whole time, my throat and mouth feel like they're blistering from actual fire. This cider was my saving grace, the only thing that seemed to slow down the burn. Eventually, after spitting out the entire bottle, I finally feel like I'm in a manageable state to think rationally. I take some Tums in anticipation for the gut pain, but it doesn't seem to help. I spend the night sitting up in bed, clutching my stomach and weeping from the sides of my eyes. I finally fall asleep at 3 a.m., grateful that I washed my hands at some point. The next morning, I wake up feeling miserable. I go to the bathroom and it feels like fire coming out of my urethra. Apparently capsaicin, spicy substance, can come out in your pee. Then my lactose intolerance kicks in and I start regretting all the milk I drank last night. All of my exits are on fire. I shower to manage all of the pain, and it helps a little. And that's where I'm at now, in complete fear of needing to use the bathroom. Too long did not read. Ate 2 spicy chips, thinking I could handle it. Gave my throat and mouth the sensation of third-degree burns. Drank milk to help despite being lactose intolerant, and had an awful bathroom experience the day after. Worst thing I've ever done. I eat habaneros. Right there, I knew you were doomed. False confidence. Edit. It's an amazing post-op, I'm not dogging on you. One of the better today I fucked up I've read lately. Glad you're doing okay. Amazing read. I felt so bad for you. Even worse that you went for the water first. Never the water. Dairy, cheese, soy milk, sour cream, alcohol, anything but water. You poor bastard. All of my exists are on fire. I think you meant exits, but that seems to work too lol. My local 7-Eleven guy tried to convince me to buy this shit. The promo shelf was fully stocked. He tried to tell me he sold out all last night, FOH. Bonus points for the unexpected frozen treat fellatio. I love spicy food, too, and tried it. The burn actually wasn't as bad as I expected. Maybe I got a milder batch than yours? I can't eat habaneros like you can, but I do order Thai hot, so, not quite sure where that puts me on the scale. Much worse than eating the chip was puking it back up again 5 minutes later. My body noped right out of digesting it. Shouldn't have done it on an empty stomach. It felt like my lips and the roof of my mouth had chemical burns afterward, and I was nauseated until the next morning. I didn't know it could affect urine. That is a new level of horror for me.